Hello and welcome back to the channel. In this particular video, we're going to be taking a look at a brand new third-party company. Now, I believe that this third-party company's name is pronounced Bombusbee, and they've given us our first look at their first two combiners for their new and upcoming Devastator. As you can see here, we have images of both Mixmaster and Demolisher, and they both look fantastic. I find it extremely interesting that they have shown us images of two figures which we haven't as of yet seen official images of in the Studio Series toy line, and at the moment the Devastator market is really quite competitive, seeing as Hasbro are actually releasing their own combiner, that being the Studio Series Devastator. These particular images that we have of these two figures, personally to me, look amazing. The robot modes look extremely accurate, and the details on them also look really well done. There is no coloured images of these as of yet. These are literally just grey prototypes, but the details on them are really well done. As you can see here, we have two images of them both in their vehicle modes, and once again this looks very accurate to what we saw in the Revenge of the Fallen movie. As of yet, as I stated, I can't compare these to the Studio Series versions. However, from looking at these images, you can tell that Hasbro are definitely going to have a very strong rival, as this particular set of figures look to be really detailed. Here we have an image here which showcases that this particular combiner will be formed out of 8 Constructicons, very similar to that of the Hasbro Devastator. He will in fact have the movie accurate scrotum that we saw in the Revenge of the Fallen movie, something that I don't think the Hasbro version will have. This particular figure is going to be roughly 50 centimeters in height when fully combined, so it will definitely be a very big figure. I'm not entirely sure what the scale of the Studio Series one will be, but I have imagined that they will be very similar, and it really does just depend on what the final Studio Series Devastator looks like, on whether or not this brand new third-party version will be better in terms of movie accuracy. Taking a look at the individual Constructicons themselves in more detail, here we have an entire image that is dedicated solely to Mixmaster. As you can see here, they are labelling him as Split, the Troublemaker, and we have some up-close images of the specific details that this figure will have. Primarily focusing on the robot mode, I really do think that it is very accurate to the Revenge of the Fallen movie, and almost looks like the Voyager class Mixmaster from the actual Revenge of the Fallen toy line. As you can see, we do have his turret just above his head section, which is accurate to the movie. In the Revenge of the Fallen film, Mixmaster did actually transform into 3 individual modes, and the Voyager from Revenge of the Fallen actually could transform into 3 modes as well. It's a really nice touch and is something that they didn't have to include, seeing as Mixmaster only really turns into a turret for a very short scene in the movie. I really like how the mixed cylinder kind of splits up and becomes his shoulder armor as well as on his arms. That is something that we saw in the movie as well as actually in the game. I do believe that he did use these pieces as a shield or armor in the game, so that was definitely a really cool added touch and will definitely bulk this particular figure out quite a lot. Very briefly going over vehicle mode, there really isn't much to say about this particular mode, other than the fact that it is very accurate to the film. They seem to have actually recreated the kind of Decepticon insignia that Mixmaster had on the front nose of his truck, which was something that any previous version of Mixmaster has failed to include. The truck mode looks just as good as the robot mode, and I really will be very interested in seeing how this particular figure will in fact transform. Now, turning to the main event of this particular figure is the fact that Mixmaster will actually transform into the head section of Devastator. Now, this to me looks absolutely amazing. It will really be remarkable to see how they actually recreate this. I think that the face is incredibly detailed, and it is really quite surprising that this has come out of that mixer truck as well as that robot mode. It's unclear at this stage whether or not this will have additional pieces applied to it, and it's actually something that puzzles me on the Studio Series version. I'm very skeptical to see whether or not they will use additional components in order to replicate the face, and if the Studio Series version does actually require additional pieces and this brand new third party version doesn't, this version to me will definitely be superior. I think that they've captured the look of Devastator's face exceptionally well. I really like how they've kind of kept the essence of the cylindrical cylinder towards the back end of Devastator's head, whilst the front section is very complex in its design, and you can definitely make out the jaw of Devastator as well as the insectoid eyes. It really would be great if we could get some coloured images, as it would shine some light on how this particular figure would in fact transform. But as of these images, I think it looks amazing. Now, taking a look at the second Constructicon to be revealed, here we have Demolisher. Now, personally, I believe that Demolisher actually looks just as good as Mixmaster did in terms of movie accuracy. I really don't have any problems with this particular figure, and it would really just be great if we could get some coloured images, as that really is the only undecided factor for me. It depends how they paint this particular figure, which will keep me from buying it or not. But as I've stated, these images look fantastic. As you can see, he will in fact have some wiring detail on the back which is shown in some of the smaller images, which is just a really great added touch of detail and something that they didn't have to include. I think that the fact that they've managed to actually get him rolling on both of the wheels looks great as well. You know, he's got the wheel at the top and the wheel at the bottom, which was what made Demolisher Demolisher, as he had a very abstract looking design. For a quick size comparison, here they have released an image of the Studio Series Voyager class Optimus Prime actually swinging from the top of Demolisher, which was the scene that we saw at the very beginning of the Revenge of the Fallen film. I actually really didn't realise how big this particular figure was going to be, and if they actually stick with this particular scale for the final release, this could potentially be the most movie accurate representation we're ever going to get for a Demolisher. Of course, we haven't seen Hasbro's version yet, but I definitely don't think that it is going to be this big nor as detailed as this particular release. Once again, here we've got an image of what the actual combined mode for Devastator will look like, and as I stated, it is an extremely detailed piece. You can see all these different tubes that are protruding out of Devastator's back, as well as that kind of grinder section that Devastator kind of rejected all the components that he didn't necessarily want to swallow from out of the back of him. They really have gone all out on this particular figure and have put some fantastic detailing in it. I am really quite amazed at the detailing that they've put into this particular piece. Considering it was a third party, you would expect some of the details to maybe be quite soft, but all the details on here seem very, very sharp. Here we've got an image of what the figure will actually look like from the front when combined on the top half, and once again this looks just as detailed as it did from the back. You can really see that Demolisher will be quite a large figure and will kind of engulf the entire head section of Mixmaster. As you can see, you can make out the two wheels of Mixmaster sitting in the centre of what will sure to be the entirety section of Demolisher. I really think that they've done a great job in terms of scale. As you saw, they were very similar in terms of their robot mode scale, but in terms of their Devastator scale, they do seem to be quite different in terms of each other's scaling. It does almost make Demolisher look as if though he will be a parts former, but as I stated, nothing is confirmed as of yet, and from these initial images, I'm thoroughly impressed with what I see so far. So they are my initial thoughts on the new reveals from Bombusbee on their Devastator Combiner. As I stated, I think that this looks great. Of course, we've only been shown 2 images of Constructicons and haven't as of yet been shown the other 6. So that will really determine on whether or not I will think this particular figure is worth buying. We also don't have any coloured images nor a price point confirmed for this particular release. And we haven't really seen the final version of the Studio Series Devastator. So all of those factors will really decide for me on whether or not I will add this to my collection. Please feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.